game changer. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Sri Lankan rugby, and in the studios with us, we have Alistair Sarvanamuthu, also called Savvy. He is a chief executive of Sri Lanka Rugby and Football Union, and we've got Sharif, who is a national team player. Thank you very much, both, for being on our show.
Very welcome. Nice to be here.
It's good to have you here. Okay, so we're going to start off with a question to Sharif. We'll start off with you. Sharif, if you can tell us, you're a national team player.
Yeah.
And before we get to the more administrative side of things, you've recently played many matches and so on. We'll get to all of that in a bit also. But let's start off from the beginning as to how you started off with schools rugby, which is where you started off. So you went to Zahira College.
Yeah.
And then let's talk of what you did afterwards.
Yeah, I started playing at Zahira, then after that I moved to St. Peter's College. Then I started playing rugby, club rugby at Sierra FC for 3 years. Then I moved to Kandy Sports Club, then I won the 2 league champs. Then only after marriage I came back to Colombo and joined Havelock Sports Club. Then for Havelock Sports Club we won the league after 18 years.
After
last
18
year,
years.
yeah.
All right, and that's a little bit of going back into your past. What about you, Savvy? You've had a more illustrious, longer career.
I'd probably say maybe a longer career. Yeah, I mean, I retired from playing in 1999. We were going back a long time now, and I was fortunate to be professional for a number of years. But unfortunately, I suffered a serious injury and couldn't walk for a year, so it was a serious injury, and was disappointed to be retiring, but went straight back into the game. I became a coach and worked forward to developing rugby in the UK, created a number of academies, and unbelievably ended up in Premier League football. So it has been a very blessed career to date. So, but it's great to be here.
How did you start off? Like, was it while you were in school, or how did that start off for you? Did you come from a family of?
Yeah, well, yeah, my father, he was a St. Josephine, and he was a cricketer actually, and he had sport all his life, all child life, and I think with himself and my 2 brothers, we must have picked up a lot from him, because my mother, who's Irish, didn't have an ounce of sport in her, so we naturally grew up. We jumped, we threw balls, we did everything, and went to a rugby playing school, a Christian Brothers school, and we were channeled down that area, and we thoroughly loved it. And to be honest, rugby is such a great sport. When you're a player, you have the opportunity to go places, to meet people, and it's a fantastic way of life as well.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Premier League also. How was that experience for you? That
in
would
football?
Have been yes.
Well, Premier League football is a phenomenon. It's it's a game changer, as they say. It's the biggest sport in the world. I landed in there by default. I was doing a talk on rugby in a big conference, and lo and behold, in the audience was a number of chief execs of football clubs, and one of them came up to me from Everton Football Club actually, and said, "Look, we'd like to talk to you. Are you interested? You talk a lot of sense," which has confused me. And that's how it started. But working in a football club, it's a business, and let's not forget, to be successful and to create players like Sheriff, you have to run your organisation like a business. And I think one of the reasons I'm here at the moment is to ensure that Sri Lanka achieves its potential, but is run like a business. And that is the secret of success for the likes of Manchester United, Liverpool Football Club. It's a business.
Yeah, let's talk about the union. That is why you're here. You've had your appointment since May this year?
Since May, yeah.
Since May this year, which is not a lot of time in the scheme of things. You've been here for a very short time, so I'm not sure how much you can tell us about what has changed or the progression, but obviously you came in here with some kind of intent to change things or to work around things or to beef things up a bit. So where were we and where do you want us to go? Let's start off with where were we?
Well, where the country is in rugby terms is very, very advanced. I mean, what starts at the school level. I would say the school level of Sri Lanka is better than the school level in England with regard to its structure, its support, and its competitiveness. So when you talk about a school with all those qualities, a school platform like that, the potential is enormous. So for me, the potential as a country to move forward from a school level, from grassroots to school to academy and into the national team, I think Sri Lanka have it all. What they don't have are the cutting edge techniques to get the best out of players, to treat them in a professional manner, with respect to eating habits, supplements, strength and conditioning. And these are things that we can change. That's the beauty of why I'm here. I think, you know, we can make a 5% shift change in the UK. Well, that 5% is 60% in Sri Lanka. And the reason I'm sat, not necessarily on this chair today, but in the chair I am in the office, is because I really believe that with the support and the ambition of Sri Lanka, we can get to that top table very quickly.
Before we talk about where we'd like to go, Sharif, you can maybe address that question too about school rugby, because you were obviously part of the same system. It's what benefited you from moving to one school to another and so on, and then moving on now finally in the national team. How competitive is school rugby in your mind?
Nowadays, it's school rugby is really improved. Now, not like those days now.
I think when you get a game that's so competitive, ugliness starts creeping in. I think you just got to harness that competitiveness.
How ugly is it right now?
Well, it can be ugly. It can be ugly. I think, you know, we talk ugly. We talk about referees. Referees have the hardest job on planet Earth, whatever sport you do, and I have seen that there's been difficulties, let's say, with teams and referees and coaches, and I think this is just because competitiveness is so great. It's absolutely in there in Sri Lanka that sometimes it overflows. But these are little things, these can change, and you know, I believe there's a strong will in the country, and I believe we can change it.
You said 60%. That's as much as we can grow. I mean, you said 5% if it's in, you know, and 60% maybe. I mean, those are just like off figures.
What I meant by that was, I could take an organisation and move it 5% in the UK.
Yes, of course. And
that 5% is like moving it 60% in this country.
Yeah. Why is that?
Why? Well, you know, the organisation, or the SLRFU, you know, it's an emerging country in rugby union, and you know, and whichever way you look at it, professional rugby in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere has been there since 1995, full-time professional, and I was right at the heart of that, and it went from being amateur one day to training 3 times a day the next. So it's gone through over 10 years of change. You know, we're talking going professional on the 1st of September. So you can see, you know, we got 10 years to catch up. But I think, you know, with the correct vision and the people in support, I think we can do it in 5.
Is it difficult to bridge that gap for the current teams? Is it difficult to bridge that gap? What are the challenges?
Well, I'd say it is. I mean, you know, Sheriff's a top national player, and you know, I've had the privilege of doing a few coaching sessions while I've been here, and these boys are genuinely excellent players. But you know, he'll tell you, one of the sessions I did, you know, I was able to rip his game apart, but in a nice, critical way to improve him. Now that was in 15 minutes. So I believe that the current squad have huge potential, and they have a chance to really give a go for World Cup qualification this year. But without doubt, the 14-year-olds of this country have got to be our national team players in 2019 in the Rugby World Cup in Japan. So we can put 5 years of quality progression into that team, without forgetting these players, because you know, Sheriff and that generation, you know,
have to kind of work at two levels.
Absolutely,
yeah?
Absolutely.
You have to work at facilitating the younger ones to make sure that they
most definitely, and these are role models.
Yeah.
So you know, it is a perfect balance, and in my job, although I love being on the field side of things, you know, I've got to focus on making sure this balance is right. And Sri Lanka come through as, you know, the country in Asia, and they can. Otherwise, you know, possibly I wouldn't be here if I didn't think they could.
With certain sports, of course, there is so much support that maybe the players can be full-time sports personalities. That can be their full-time job. And with some, obviously, it's a little more difficult due to financial reasons and so on. How is it with rugby, and is that a problem that the players and, of course, SLRFU also have to face?
Correct, massive problem. I mean, you know, if we're talking about making these big strides, there's no question these boys have to be full-time. I mean, that was one of the first issues that I had to point out, and you know, I'm pleased to say even today, I mean, you know, that, you know, I've been working on a contract that is tripartite with SLRFU, the clubs and the players. So it's a way of Sri Lankan rugby, getting these guys on a full-time basis so they wake up in the morning and they're working with us.
Which means there needs to be obviously support, because financial support, they need to be able to bring up their families and so on. So there must be financial constraints or things like that.
Well, there's money. It's, you know, it's a contract. When you're a professional, you get paid. You know, a dollar. You become accountable. So that's what we are as a union. And we're you know, without the ministry's support, we wouldn't be in this position to be able to offer these guys contracts. But we have to work with the clubs. So the clubs are as important to this as the players.
Everyone has to feed in.
Absolutely. And all I'm doing is trying to harness what everybody's got within them and try and bring this to a united front. And what we'll see is an improved player. We'll see women's rugby developing. We'll see junior. You know, but it's not going to happen overnight. And you need to take a long-term view, similar to cricket, I think. When the country became the greatest team on planet Earth, and it still sticks. The fact that they have the best strip is irrelevant, but they happen to be the best team, and that stuck because they had a plan and they followed it.
All right, we will get back to conversation with you, of course, about this. Do you guys like music? On a complete different note.
Love music.
You
In fact,
sing,
when
don't
that music's on, Sheriff and I, and maybe yourself, we might be dancing.